Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It is, of course, a beautiful day, a beautiful morning, the 14th of August. I can't believe, Emma, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
How on earth we've reached sort of midway through August already?
I know.
The dog days of August are already kind of here.
We are, and it is such beautiful weather, Mike, but are you
Well, hang on, until yesterday when it started bucketing down.
What was that about?
I was filming Plank of the Week, right? And my friend Donald was down
I was in
Scotland.
A paddling pool with some child of mine. And it suddenly just...
And I came out and I was like, have you seen what the weather's doing?
Ridiculous.
It was like literally torrential
with
rain.
Zero warning as well.
Yeah.
There was like a few grey clouds or something I looked at, but no, I mean, it was quite dramatic.
Yeah,
lightning,
incredible.
Thunder, the works.
Now, can I just point out to you, before we go anywhere to talk about any stories, the weirdest picture of the day for me is on the front page of the Times, the Pope receiving a look-alike doll from a group of nuns during yesterday's
which they have literally
audience
crocheted
at the Vatican. Hello?
Very weird.
I'm sorry, this looks to me like a very, very strange scenario. The nuns, there's like 4 nuns, right, giving him a doll. It's like, what are you, child?
They've given him a crocheted doll of a pope.
Of El Papa. It's very weird.
It's very odd. I thought they were children when I glanced at it, and then I realised they're actually nuns.
No.
But people do say nuns are quite childlike sometimes. Maybe this is what they do in their spare time.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm sure Catholics will hate it that I've said this, but I'm a Catholic, so I can say it. Don't care. Anyway, it's very weird. Just stop. Don't do it.
Just don't
make dolls.
Creepy, weird.
Now, we've talked about the NHS before.
But can we go back to the dog days of August?
Yes.
Because are you not noticing with a kind of melancholy, and I know it's silly to say this and people going, oh, soon be Christmas and all of that. Can we just mark in some way the fact that the evenings are getting so dark at about 7, 8 o'clock, you start to sort of stumble and fall. The mornings are much darker. I mean, 4 o'clock, it's still dark.
I used to come into work even just about a month ago.
About a month ago. You get a good 4 weeks when it's glorious and light.
I don't mind that it's dark in the morning because actually I'm getting up in the middle of the night as far as I'm concerned. So to get up at 4 o'clock...
But the evenings...
The evenings I prefer if they were longer, but I don't really mind.
It's just that it changes so quickly at this time of year. That's my problem with it. Suddenly, you're into August and then it's winter.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Okay, all right, I get that. I'm very much of a sort of absolutist about these things. It's like, you know it's going to come, you know winter's coming.
Every year, though. I think it's going to be a grim winter. I think Labour's second winter in this country...
Winter of discontent.
Winter of discontent. I think it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
I just got this feeling.
I mean, so far we've got through till the middle of August and there haven't been the sort of riots and the unrest that people said there would be. No. There have been lots of very, very good and peaceful demonstrations.
Yes, they have.
And they'll continue.
Yeah.
And so thus far, we've managed to avoid the riots.
Yes.
And if we can get through the summer without that, I think that would be a good thing. But for Starmer, I mean, he's taken this country into hell, basically. The guy is ruining Britain.
Well, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. And you see people occasionally popping up on X, these weirdos who go, look at how good everything is. You don't, no one is...
Listen,
they're very odd.
No, this is a concerted campaign.
Have you seen?
By lefties,
and they list
like
things.
John Rentoul, Fraser Nelson, various others who
never been a better place to live. Oh, by the way, we're
forget
behind
about
Italy.
What you're hearing from the right wing. Forget about what you're hearing from ordinary people. This is actually the greatest time to be in Britain. It's the greatest country in the world. You know, the country is going down the toilet, right? Everybody knows that. You've seen it. I can see it. And I'm not going to be in any way swayed by these people who seem to be trying to convince me that it's never been better to live in Britain.
It's really, really odd.
Bugger
because
off.
It's not
Just
what
get
people
lost.
are feeling and living and experiencing at all.
No.
And the figures aren't showing that either.
No, exactly.
Oh, look, there are all these vacancies, there are all these jobs. You know? GDP has never been higher, and it's just simply not true.
It's really not true. But I believe that to be a concerted campaign, probably by people in government who are trying to use these various different kind of messages.
The past few weeks.
Yeah,
really
but it's a concerted campaign by these lefties who are definitely trying to convince us of something that isn't true. And so I'm very suspicious of it.
Almost as though people are so fatigued with the whole thing that they'll just accept. You know, if they're told that they'll go, OK, well, that must be true. Actually,
yeah, because especially, because they're banking on the fact that a lot of young people, for example, people in their 20s and 30s, don't remember what Britain used to be like.
Exactly.
And don't remember, actually, that it was a lot better in the 80s, a lot better in the 70s, even when there were national strikes going on.
Of course they don't remember. You know? Of course they don't remember.
They don't remember that, but I do.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to tell you right now, and right here, that Britain has never been in a worse state than it is now. So forget what you're listening to from Fraser Nelson, you know, with his crappy Highland accent. accent. I think this whole fucking it's not great, okay? It's not. It really isn't. Anyway, let's talk about the NHS, right?
Yes.
Apparently the NHS has misled the public, and this is a think tank, right, which has come out with this. This is the Nuffield Trust, which is not in any way, shape or form a right-wing organisation.
Come on, the Nuffield Trust does their homework.
They said that 245,000 appointments have been removed from the list every month because patients have either died, had treatment elsewhere, or moved abroad. And I've been saying this for ages, right? Let's go back and see what Starmer said about his biggest achievement. Have a look.
Amongst the things, I could do a whole list, but I'm really proud that a year ago, probably, I was interviewed by you and I said we'd do 2 million extra appointments in the NHS in the first year of a Labour government. We've now done 3 million and waiting lists are coming down. There's a whole list of other things that I could probably go on about for a very, very long time.
That was when we went on that crappy NATO summit, right?
Yeah.
When he went to Canada.
The
and he
hills
sat
are alive with the sound of music.
And by the next week, he was saying, oh, it's actually 4 million now.
Yeah.
And then he actually said 4.5 million. And the next time we see him, it will be 7 million.
I'm afraid he was pulling numbers out of his backside, basically. He really was.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't work like that. And what this report is saying from the Nuffield Trust is that things have been moved around. People, as you say, people have died, people have moved abroad. People have that hospitals have decided that people no longer need to be seen.
Right.
And they're removed. So you can just remove people from waiting lists.
Yeah.
Which is actually not the same.
Well,
it's not the same
as
waiting lists. When you hear waiting lists have come down, the clear message in that is we've seen people, we're moving people through the system.
Right.
It is really,
the message is
it's actually really dishonest.
It is. It's really dishonest. The message is that we are dealing with the backlog and we are seeing more people.
We're treating people.
We're treating
what is the point of the NHS, Mike? What is the point?
Well, there is no point, right? Because everybody that I know who's got anything to do with the NHS tells me that it's completely and utterly stagnating. It's completely and utterly in a place of putrefaction and nothing's happening. Right, have a look at this. This is him claiming that not only was it 4 million, this is from last month, it's now 4.5 million.
We're happily going to go to our constituents. We're going to tell them we promised 2 million extra NHS appointments and we delivered 4 million extra appointments.
I mean, he's completely deluded, isn't he? Completely deluded.
Completely. And what this report actually states, while the waiting list has started to go down, unreported removals have gone up. In fact, they've repeatedly outnumbered the additional incomplete referrals that join the waiting list every month. So it's this thing about unreported removals. You can remove people from waiting lists.
Yes.
That's not treating them.
People that talk to me, and I'm going to ask you to do it again because it's always a good exercise in sort of public policy, is you tell me what's happening with your definition of what the NHS is doing, because people tell me every single day that I had an appointment made for August and now it's been cancelled. Now I've got an appointment in September. They'll probably cancel that. This is now my 4th appointment.
Exactly.
I still haven't seen anybody. You know, this is what's going on. So I'd love to hear from all of you, please. Do send me your messages on 0344 499 1000. Text us on 87222. Tweet us at TalkTV, because everybody with any brains knows that the NHS is broken. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
Right?
And just to repeat that, it's about 2.4 million appointments have been removed from the backlog. So when he's claiming 2 million, 4 million, that doesn't
8
even...
million. I mean,
but they are actually reporting 2.5 million appointments have been removed. So that's not seeing anyone. That's not treating anyone.
No, and everyone that I know that I speak to, and quite a lot of people...
And in our lives,
say that they've had about 4 appointments made for every one chance they get to see somebody.
And if you do get an appointment, they're usually, and I do remember a decade ago, you would be seen in a few weeks. Right? Now you get a hospital appointment if you need to be seen for anything. It'll be months away. It'll literally be November appointments. I've got a little kid who waited a year and a half to be seen at Moorfields to get glasses. That's wrong.
I know. But I know from being a parent that, you know, when your child is under 5, you're in and out of hospitals all the time. You're in and out of A&Es because, you know, they fall over or they do something stupid or they, you know, spray hairspray in their eye or something idiotic, right?
Peanut up their nose.
Right, exactly. But so what have you found, like, over the last, say, couple of years, whenever you've had to use the NHS?
7 hours waiting, even though an under 5 is meant to be seen within 4 hours. Then you get to the end of it and they go, oh, sorry, you can't sew that up now. It should have been done within 4 hours. So then they can't sew it up. You know, I mean,
I remember
you know, little
when I was just living in Scotland, one of my kids fell down the stairs, right? And the most thing they were interested in was whether or not we'd beaten him to death, you know?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
They took us into separate rooms to ask us how it happened.
And started to interview you and how it happened.
Started to interview you like as if you'd been some kind of criminal.
I know.
I'm like, you fell down the stairs. I'm sorry.
You're not social services.
I wasn't watching him at the time.
Exactly.
He's very active. He's a pain in the arse, basically, and he's got a cut on his head because he fell down the stairs. I'm not trying to kill him.
Oh, I've definitely had social services kind of raising their eyebrows.
I'd like to
people
kill him,
like that.
but that's another story.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, that's the thing. The point is that, you know, they're more interested in the kind of stuff that's off to the side. Than the stuff that's actually real.
Exactly.
And sorting out, you know, what your problem is.
But that's for young children, but I'm sure we all have elderly people in our lives and they're waiting and waiting and waiting, and things that aren't deemed life-threatening, like hip replacements, which are basically making people's lives a misery. And then they want to slap, you know, VAT on private healthcare because people give up at the end of their lives. They give up and think, well, I'll spend all my savings on living a life pain-free. I mean, you really couldn't make it up. And it's so dishonest. Just to come back to that report, it's just so dishonest to claim all this stuff about appointments.
This is what I think people hate about this government, is that, you know, everybody understands if things are difficult, if you suddenly get yourself into a kind of a doom loop of financial crisis, right, which is what they've done, but they just lie all the time, every single day. We carry it as almost a joke, but, you know, at 8 o'clock today, just after 8 o'clock, Keir Starmer will put out some kind of tweet which will be absolute crap. Right, rubbish about nothing at all, which has nothing to do with anything that anybody cares about. He still hasn't addressed the migrant problem. He still hasn't addressed
the
fact
boats are getting bigger.
Boats are getting bigger. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. He still hasn't addressed the fact that there are demonstrations up and down the country now in every single town and city in the land because people are fed up with being, you know, foisted upon by these horrible, ghastly people coming from other countries.
Which is changing the nature of our country.
And I'm going to call them that because, you know, these are not people that we want in our country. They're horrible, nasty, you know, brutish, misogynistic, women-hating scumbags, and suddenly we're giving them everything and letting them stay here.
Everything.
And we don't want them.
Taxing British people to the hilt.
And we don't have to, you know, they don't deserve our sort of, you know, generosity. They don't deserve our sort of, you know, happiness or anything.
And why are they here when other countries are not doing their bit and not housing them up, not putting them up in hotels or giving them accommodation or giving them jobs or any of that? How do they end up here? How again and again and again is the UK accepting this? And whenever you challenge lefties on this, Mike, they will say to you, oh, but it's the 14 years of the Tories. How can you ignore it? It's the 14 years of Tories. Hang on a minute. We're a year and a half almost into this, well, a year and a bit into this administration. There comes a point at which they need to start looking at what Starmer is actually doing.
Listen, no question the Tories are just as much to blame, and they did a terrible job
along the way.
However, that's not the end of the story. The story now is getting worse. I mean, look at the front page of Daily Mail today. BBC climbs down over xenophobe slur on Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick was accused of being a xenophobe by a bloke who was doing Thought for the Day. Dr. Krish Kandiah prompted fury when he used Thought for the Day to basically say that Robert Jenrick said he was worried for his young daughters and defended protests against asylum hotels without any reference to the fact that Dr. Kandiah is the patron of a refugee charity. Well, they allowed him to go on there and say, this man is a xenophobe.
But even if he wasn't, I don't care what Chris Kandiah does, but yeah, exactly. This is this virtue signalling segment on Radio 4 every morning, Thought for the Day, where they basically attack anyone who has, you know, views about Britain or feels strongly or loves their country. And this is, you know, what he is saying about calling him a xenophobe. He said, in other words, this is xenophobia. Because Robert Jenrick wrote about fearing for his 3 daughters.
Perfectly genuine.
But this is what you're hearing at these protests up and down the country, is people in their communities saying we don't feel safe anymore. Women, women in pink, grandmothers, mothers, girls in pink saying it's not safe for us to go out.
Saying they don't.
They're not even saying I feel. They're saying it's not safe for us to go out, to play out, to be outdoors, to walk home alone, to come back from work alone. It's not safe for us on our streets. So to call that xenophobia, I mean, you're just basically, you know, you're ignoring what people are actually experiencing.
So this bloke runs a thing called the Sanctuary Foundation, describes itself as a charity supporting refugees to find welcome, work and worthwhile housing in the UK. Get lost, mate. Unless you're putting your own money in and you're putting people up in your own house, you know, I don't want to hear from your bleeding preaching about how we should all be welcoming to these scumbags, as I say, who come into this country, who rape women, who sexually assault women, who don't understand that women have rights, and who think that basically they can treat women like chattels.
Should be covered from head to foot, but also
bugger off.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not interested in people from Eritrea or bloody Sudan or Afghanistan. If you can't be a civilised individual, you can't live in my country. I'm sorry. That's what we should be saying.
I know.
You know? And now they're arriving on even bigger boats, right? According to the Daily Mail, now it's big boat migrants, 107 came in on a super-sized dinghy yesterday. So it makes an even bigger mockery of old Keir Starmer smashing the gangs. He's not smashing the gangs. They're actually now getting bigger boats.
There are some astonishing photos in the Telegraph and in the Mail. I urge people to look at these because, I mean, this is becoming a joke. This isn't people... You know, it started out little dinghies, little boats sneaking in the undercover of darkness. People are now coming across, as you say, over 100, 107, I think is the latest tally on one of these mega dinghies. They're not dinghies.
They are. They're mega dinghies. They're not small boats.
This is a business. And they're coming in, and it's daylight, and we can see them. And what is going on?
Well, I said this the other day because the Mail sent somebody over to the north shores of France and Calais, and you can see these people sitting on these boats. They don't look like they're worried about drowning because they're not going to drown.
They're not going to drown. No, these are seriously...
Occasionally there's a mistake that happens, but it's a bit like saying occasionally people crash their cars and die. You know, this is not a risky operation. These people are coming here and they're very, very confident they're going to get from Calais to France, to London, to Dover without any kind of problem whatsoever.
These are pretty robust boats. Look at that.
Very robust.
You couldn't just, you know, stick a penknife in the side of that. They're very, very strong boats. And actually, when there is a tragedy, it's usually involving a woman and a child or something like that. But these men seem to get across absolutely fine.
They absolutely don't have a problem at all. It really is. It's quite staggering. But of course, we've now got the point where we've got 50,716.
You reached your 50,000.
The official number. I said we would. And there'll be another 500 or so that will arrive today. Migrant numbers for 2025 only 27,474 since January the 1st. I think
it's up something like 50% on last year, the same time last year.
Complete
and it is an absolute shambles. And I think what's really making people angry is not just the crossings, the brazen crossings, and the fact that it's a business. And we hear this nonsense about smashing the gangs, and nothing has been done. We had that Turkish bloke who was apparently making parts for a boat that he was smashed, wasn't he? Early on.
We still don't know whether he's actually been charged.
Well, who was he anyway? He wasn't behind all this.
Yeah, but he hasn't gone to prison. We haven't heard any stories about whether or not
but
he's
it was
been put in jail.
Keir Starmer's greatest, proudest moment, wasn't it, really? He found this man somewhere.
We found a man,
and this will be...
he's been responsible for all the boats. And, of course, ever since he's been arrested, there's even more people have come.
Of course.
So he obviously clearly wasn't that responsible.
He wasn't responsible for anything.
You know.
But I think what's really making people angry is the fact that more and more is being made clear about what they're getting. They're coming here and just getting free healthcare, free schooling, accommodation, jobs, gyms,
free tickets to
English lessons, hair extensions, nails, anything that makes them feel better about settling in this country. All of this nonsense.
When was the last time you got something free from this country?
Absolutely.
Right?
When was the last time I paid them more tax? For goodness sake.
Right.
And then you have people we've seen at those protests filming out of hotels and laughing at the British people who are. And
just
I think
there's...
I think people are reaching peak kind of despair on this one. And rage, actually, anger.
People have had enough, and I'm absolutely with you. And we are here to amplify your distaste for what is going on. Because it's time we actually said the words, these scumbags are coming to this country and ruining it. And let's put a stop to it, please. Thank you very much indeed. Let's get a voice note.
Why does Starmer think he can solve the world's problems all the time? I mean, I see him on the telly yesterday heading up the coalition of the willing, whatever that means, with the French and the Germans. Now, Macron's tapped him up for the best part of £1 billion and we're still waiting to see if the French police will get their feet wet. And no one's ever heard of the German Chancellor. He needs to spend more time concentrating on what's going on in this country and less time sticking his nose into other people's business, and the country might not be in the mess that it currently is. Anyway, all the best, Mike.
That's from Lee. Thank you very much indeed. A good way to start the show this morning. People are sick to the back teeth of Starmer and his completely useless inability to actually see what's in front of him, and instead look overseas to try and figure out whether he's important or not. Have a look at this. He's on a phone call here with J.D. Vance and various other European leaders.
This meeting on Friday that President Trump is attending is hugely important. And as I've said personally to President Trump, look, for 3 and a bit years this conflict has been going on and we haven't got anywhere near the prospect of actually a viable solution, a viable way of bringing it to a ceasefire. And now we do have that chance because of the work that the President has put in. And
what's he talking about?
Was that his actual phone call?
Yeah, I think so.
So he's just telling them what the problem is?
Yeah,
We all know that. We all know that.
Yeah, it's like he's so insignificant. And they're all sitting on the other end of the phone going...
I think they've just wandered off.
Sorry. I mean, sorry. I can't. I'm going to have to stop now because I'm going to start swearing. It's 25 minutes past 6, and we are, of course, Morning Glory. We will be back, me and Emma Woolf, after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 28 minutes past 6, actually, and as predicted, I've got loads of great messages from all of you. Thank you very much indeed for sending them in about the NHS. We've been talking, Emma Woolf is here, talking about the fact that it looks like the government and the NHS have misled us all about how appointments are being dealt with and why appointments are somehow being given out more frequently now than they ever were, and how somehow Wes Streeting has created this miracle of giving people more access to the NHS. How about this, right, from Peter in Suffolk? Morning, Mike and Emma. My wife was removed from the list because she gave up and had her hip done privately. While I waited in reception, virtually everyone who came into the private hospital was self-funding. Stephen Cambridge says, I had an appointment in January and this has been cancelled 7 times. I was seen last week, only to be told to come back next month due to staff holidays. Exactly right. One from Damon in Wigan. I had a back operation 15 months ago and I'm still waiting for my 6-week review. My appointment is always cancelled and now I'm having problems again. This is the thing. So Damon, somebody like Damon will have had probably 7 or 8 appointments made, right? Yeah. And then Starmer will stand up in the House of Commons and go, well, 4.5 million appointments more have been made. And nobody's being seen.
No one is being seen.
It's a complete rip-off. It's rubbish.
And the thing is, they can say it as much as they like, but all you need to do is, I mean, everybody's experience. If everybody's experiences were getting better, right, then they would all say, oh, OK, yes, we believe him. But when everybody is having these experiences or going private, saving up, and this assumption that if you save up to have a hip replacement because you're in agony, oh, you must be wealthy, you must be really wealthy, oh, just private healthcare. It's not. The reality is, like the message there says, you know, people are saving up to self-fund because they've given up hope, because they've given up waiting on the NHS, having paid in all their life. It's really wrong, isn't it?
It really is.
Really
I mean,
wrong.
when you want the NHS to help you, many people just find, look, it can't help me. So I'm not going to go to the GP. I'm not going to bother going to an A&E because I'm just going to wait there for hours and hours on end. I'm just going to go private.
And most of us don't need the NHS a lot. You need it when you have a baby. You need it maybe at the, you know, in later life if you get cancer. You need it once in a while. Certainly in later life if you need things like hips or, you know, knee replacements or whatever. But we're not there every day. I don't want to go to hospitals or GPs. You don't want to have contact with people. You don't want to waste resources. But I think when people have paid in, the ones who have paid in, it should be there.
It should be there. Absolutely.
And it should be functional.
That's the point of it. How about this from Ellie in Staffordshire? Morning, Mike. My daughter has MS. She had an MRI scan cancelled by letter. She phoned and said, I never had the appointment in the first place, and then they sent another letter with the appointment they cancelled, and then another letter cancelling it again, all in 1 week.
It's a joke.
What the hell's going on?
It really is a joke. And that's another thing they could look at. These endless, you know, you have an appointment, even when you've had the appointment, you'll then, a few days later, you get this sort of follow-up letter going, oh, you've got an appointment. You think, well, why are you sending all this stuff out?
I know. What a
and they're
waste
very
of time.
needy, the NHS. If you have an appointment, they'll ring and text you about a million times.
Right.
That's fine. I've got the appointment. It's in the diary. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop
and then you get there and it turns out the doctor's on holiday.
Exactly.
So I'm afraid they can't see you. Let's talk about Donald Trump. He's on the front pages a lot this morning. Trump in warning to Putin on the eve of talks. Big summit meeting coming up at the weekend in Alaska. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are going to be supposedly meeting up and talking about ending the conflict in Ukraine. President Trump has threatened Russia with severe consequences if it rejects a ceasefire in Ukraine. I mean, I'm going to say this, and I don't know if it's going to turn out to be true. I think Trump will get a ceasefire of some kind or another, even if it doesn't last. I think he'll get a result, won't he?
He will get a result. There's so much scepticism. The Guardian are practically like, this is very dangerous. This is very dangerous. In a room on their own with no. It's a hilarious piece in the Guardian about in a room on their own with no advisors, and they might agree to anything. It's kind of, oh, you remember what they did last time?
I know.
Well,
it's like, what does the Guardian know about international politics?
They know nothing.
Literally the square root of F all, to be honest.
You know what? At least Donald Trump is trying.
He's making it happen.
He's actually making more steps towards peace. He's got Putin to the table tomorrow in Anchorage, in Alaska. I think he will come up with something. I'm not sure what Zelensky's going to do about it, because he's still saying, well, we're not giving up this, we're not giving up that.
He's looking tiny in the papers today, by the way.
But he is standing next to
the German Chancellor.
Yeah, who is, I think, 6 foot 29.
He looks like a child.
He looks tiny and really unhappy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, it all depends on... And then Trump wants to follow up with a kind of trilateral between Putin and Zelensky, doesn't he?
Right.
He's doing something.
Yeah, and let's face it, you know, we would all like to see an end to the war in Ukraine. Nobody wants to see, you know, people suffering. But at the end of the day, what we don't want as well is for us to continually, you know, promise billions and billions and billions of pounds in aid. We haven't got the money. We can't afford it anymore.
It can't go on. 3.5 years now. At least Trump is taking decisive action and saying, let's get around the table and talk about this. Bashing Putin and kind of Zelensky's heads together. They've got to agree something. No, I don't like Putin any more than anyone else does. You know, and one's always kind of, oh, you Putin apologist. No, not at all. But I think if you give Obama the Nobel Peace Prize, I think Donald Trump deserves it hands down.
I mean, Peter Hitchens was very good on this. He said, you know, the trouble is that the people who are critical of Donald Trump, and because he's no fan of Donald Trump, he said they just want to keep going with war. They just want to keep the war going. And that is not where we are. Let's have a look at what Trump had to say yesterday about consequences for Russia.
There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing. Again, this is Biden's war. This isn't my war. He got us into this thing, and it should have never happened. This war would have never happened if I were president. But it is what it is, and I'm here to fix it.
Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be?
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be. I don't have to say. There will be very severe consequences. Yes. Yeah, please.
He also talks about a Russia hoax. Have a look at this.
I would have had a good conversation with Vladimir. I knew him very well. I got along with him great, actually. We had I had to go through the Russia hoax, and it was actually it was a strain on the relationship. I actually told him. I said, you know, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it. These people put our country at great danger.
Shifty Schiff. He can't help it, can he? He's brilliant. He can't help it.
And unhinged Clinton.
I know.
Reports. I mean, really.
Hillary Clinton. I mean,
was really not all the full.
No.
Whack, was she, at all?
She really wasn't, no. I mean, thank goodness.
That's been really hushed up.
Two really good things happened in sort of the last 10 years. Hillary Clinton didn't win the election, and neither did Kamala Harris. Can you imagine where we would be if Kamala Harris had won?
Oh, I mean,
and she'd
crazy.
be sitting there cackling away.
Really, really strange woman.
I know, very odd indeed. We've got loads more to do. I've got some great messages coming in. This one from Paul. In Hitchin, who says this, Emma, in 2021 I had a kidney donor clinic where a trace amount of blood was detected in my urine. The hospital wrote to my GP to follow up. I had no further communication. The same clinic in 2022 asked what was happening. I said nothing. They again wrote to the GP. I finally, at the end of 2023, had an appointment for April 2024. This was cancelled and rebooked for October 2024. I had the appointment, prescribed medication, told I would be sent an appointment for 6 months, April 2025. I received no text or letter. Then, in May 2025, had a letter saying I was discharged from the clinic for non-attendance. I spent 2 hours on the phone, managed to rebook for September 2025. Unbelievable incompetence, obviously only having one kidney. I want to look after it.
That is shocking.
So we're talking
4
about
years.
4 years of, you know, being messed around, pushed around, appointments made, appointments cancelled, and then struck off the list for not showing up.
For someone who has
That's the NHS,
one kidney,
right?
Exactly. It's a combination of incompetence and, I don't know, an inability to deal with, you know, important situations fast.
Yeah. They're just not any good.
Months going... No, they're not. They're not.
You know, people don't like to hear it. They go, oh, but they're angels, you know, they're so great, you know, the nurses, they're so lovely and, you know, they're working so hard and they're helping people. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, they're not actually. They're crap at their job.
As a system.
And the NHS is useless and none of it works. And I don't know who to blame for it, but certainly it's not anything that we should be proud of at all. Anywhere
No, I agree. As a system, it's completely broken.
Yeah, it's absolute... I'm quite angry this morning. I don't know why. It's 6:37. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham, 6:39. Emma Woolf is here as well. Let's get a voice note from Steve.
Steve from Barnsley. Morning, Mike. Love listening to your show. I listen to it mostly every day. But can we please stop talking about that liar Starmer just for a few weeks? Let's have some happy shows. Happy shows.
Well, I'd like to stop talking about Keir Starmer, but unfortunately, he keeps popping up every now and then into my timeline to tell me what he's doing to fix the country. We are setting out some construction workers' jobs, and he just talks absolute crap every day.
Wasn't there some rumour that he was going somewhere hot? Wasn't it meant to be this week, and we maybe get a bit of peace and quiet? He was going on holiday somewhere. Right. But I suppose that's
Can you imagine being on holiday and having that idiot turning up and you go, oh, Keir Starmer's here, oh, great.
Around the pool or something.
Yeah. Remember last time he went on holiday to Madeira and his kids jumped the queue to get on some sled ride, right? And he managed to even get that wrong.
Exactly.
This bloke is an absolute disaster. He's a car crash. He's the worst Prime Minister of all time, right? They don't like it when I call him a liar, but he's a liar. Everybody says he's a liar. There is not one person in the United Kingdom that thinks Keir Starmer tells the truth about anything.
I've always felt he was a shifty, dishonest man.
Yeah. Let's talk about the TikTok migrant who was on the front page of the Sun yesterday.
Makes me very angry.
Not on the front page of the Sun today. However, a big spread in the paper. Kick him out of here. It says asylum hotel bragger came from a safe country. He's supposed to be from Afghanistan, this guy, right? And according to Chris Philp, Tory MP, Shadow Home Secretary, the Home Office and the police should be urgently investigating this man. He's all over TikTok. Right, he's boasting about the fact that he's broken into Britain. He's telling other people how to do it. And why has he not been apprehended?
He's all over TikTok. We've got images of him. He used to live in Germany, but then he decided it was more soft touch in the UK. He would get more benefits here. He was worried about the AFD's plans to crack down on illegal migrants. He's all over TikTok. He's telling people how to come here. He's, I think, being put up in this Crown Plaza at Heathrow at the moment. Yeah. It is absolutely shocking that this man is still, well, the Tory MP Chris Philp, who is absolutely brilliant, by the way. Robert Jenrick and Chris Philp are my heroes at the moment, says the Home Office and the police should be urgently investigating this man. But I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, we can see who he is. Presumably they know where he is.
Right. Well, we know where he is. He's in the bleeding Crown Plaza at Heathrow.
We know where he is.
It's all over the papers.
Why is he allowed to live in this country?
Yeah.
After what he said on TikTok about coming here.
Surely they should send a squad to the Crown Plaza in Heathrow.
And deport him.
I mean, according to Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer last Friday, everybody coming here illegally will be detained, right? This guy came on Saturday, wasn't detained. He was taken to Manston, which is the processing plant before he got sent to a hotel near Heathrow. So they're lying again. They're not detaining anybody. They've maybe detained 3 people.
And I thought they were cracking down. Weren't the police going to become social media experts and crack down? Oh, they're only cracking down on us. They're only cracking down on us for sending hurty tweets and other people, but they're not cracking down on this guy.
No.
Who's been in Germany.
We know who he is.
In Germany, on social media, warning other Afghan asylum seekers, don't come to Germany, they're cracking down on us.
And if people think that this guy is in need of help, right, just have a look at his face in the Sun, pages 4 and 5 today. He is taking the absolute mickey out of hard-working, tax-paying members of society, right?
Absolutely.
My money that I just paid, I paid approximately 50,000 quid to the government, right, in July for various different taxes that they wanted. This is feeding this bloke.
It is.
He's getting up and getting breakfast, he's getting lunch, he's getting dinner, he's getting a free ride to wherever he wants to go, he's living high in the hog.
No, it makes...
driving me insane!
It makes one so angry because there is not...
Sorry.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
There is not money.
Well, I want to go there now. I want to go to Heathrow with a camera crew, find him, drag him out of his room, put him on a plane. He's right next to Heathrow. Send him back to bloody Afghanistan and Kabul and see how he likes it there.
But that's the thing, Mike. Deport them. Not this endless appeal process. Not this detention process. Just deport these people. And the thing is, he's well dressed. He's well dressed, he's groomed, he's had a haircut, he's got his
clothes
beard
for him as well.
Neatly trimmed.
Sure he has.
This guy is doing fine. He's not a refugee in any sense. He's not starving.
No.
He's posing in France. He's posing in Germany.
Yeah.
What on their social media kind of policing, what are they not following up? Why can't they go and deport this man?
I know. What are they waiting for?
What's his claim? What's his claim based on?
Yeah, exactly. A right to a family life or what? I don't know. He's got a wife. He's probably got a wife and kids back in Afghanistan. They're all dressed in black. Can't see them. I don't know how you remember your wife even looks like. They all look the same. And let's have Keir Starmer telling us what he's going to do to all these people, which of course he's not doing. It's on a completely unprecedented scale. This bloke came in on Saturday and he's now in a hotel in Heathrow. How is that a crackdown in any way, shape or form? He's talking absolute, I'm sorry, cobblers.
Where is this nationwide crackdown?
There is no nationwide crackdown. It's total lies. Keir Starmer's a liar. I say it every day. They don't like it in Downing Street. I don't care. Prove to me that he said something that's actually true.
So, do you think asylum seekers are more likely to see this? Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Are more likely to see this nonsense.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this is the man we're talking about.
It is,
this nonsense from Keir Starmer, or are they more likely to look at people's TikTok, other asylum seekers telling them how to get here?
Well,
and where to go,
as we
which country?
speak, there will be 107 people clambering onto a dinghy and then clambering onto another dinghy. People describe it as rush hour for dinghies at this time of the morning, around about 7 a.m. Off the coast of Calais, because one dinghy after another comes along. They all run out into the... We saw that terrible picture of them all marauding, running towards the dinghies in the shallows, right? They're all young men. They're all scumbags. They're rapists. They're sexual assaulters. They hate women. We don't want them here, you right? We should be stopping them as soon as they come anywhere near British waters and, frankly, blasting them out of the water. You know, sink the bloody things.
Absolutely,
right?
And when you've got 107 per crossing, I don't know how many crossings you can do in a day, but I think we're going to start topping 1,000 in a day.
Well, they're going to be 500 or 1,000. I mean, I think we had a couple of days a few months ago where we had more than 1,000 in one day.
Yeah.
That will happen.
Recently, last week, there was 800, 900. It was at those levels in the fine weather.
How dare these people think they can come to my country and live off the land and live off the taxpayer and live off the people like you and I who pay our taxes? You know, sod them. Right? Just don't come. And, you know, if it needs to be some drastic action that needs to be taken, that's what we need to do now, because we've had enough. Literally had enough.
I just think that the country can't take any more. I think we're actually breaking at the seams, you know, splitting at the seams. Yeah. And the pressure on public services is just completely unsustainable.
And people like this complete and utter prat who was on Radio 4, you know, this Dr. Chris Candia, you know, let's have justice for the refugees. No. Why don't you put them up in your house, mate, and see how you feel when they start molesting your children, right?
Well, and that's why I object to the King telling us how, you know, how to open our arms and welcome refugees, and the Pope telling us to open our arms and welcome immigrants into our communities.
Play with your toys.
Because play with your toys. None of these people are touched by it. They're not affected by it at all, Mike. They're not affected by this happening in their towns and cities around them, and that is what people in the UK are seeing.
Right. Don't worry, though, because Keir Starmer's got a plan. Apparently he's going to meet with Vladimir Zelensky today in Downing Street. So they're going to have a few man hugs, you know, two small little blokes, you know, hugging each other.
Tiny little blokes.
And trying to solve the problems of the world.
Sheer self-indulgence.
I know.
The big, important meeting, so the big, important Ukraine-Russia meeting is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Zelensky and Starmer meeting
Zelensky's
today.
NFI, isn't he, in terms of Alaska? He's not been asked.
Exactly.
Right.
But Starmer, he is just doing that as a kind of... He likes meeting up with Macron. He likes feeling... And Zelensky. He likes doing the...
Likes feeling Zelensky.
He does.
How do you mean
He
that?
loves the bro hugs and the almost kisses on the front of Downing Street and all
give
of
another
that.
couple of billion with money we don't have.
Well, he might know the Ukrainian male model.
Can somebody help me? I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. There's no air conditioning here either, so I'm going to get really worked up by the time we get to 10 o'clock. At 6:48, Emma Woolf is here. Let's do this. Great show as usual. Just a quick question regarding this TikTok migrant, says Phil. What's he doing with all the monetisation he's making from TikTok? Why aren't we using that to pay for his accommodation? Well, that's a very good question. Louise from Ipswich says, Starmer and Macron are just posturing and look absurd. If Trump and Putin agree a functioning ceasefire, Zelensky and everyone else will do as they're told. Yeah, absolutely right. And lots of you getting in touch about the NHS scenario. I gave up with the NHS a long time ago, says Rachel in the Cotswolds. I'm now private. However, it totally frustrates me that now the waiting time to see a consultant privately has gone up to over 3 weeks. Why? Because the NHS is flooding the private system with patients, which I've seen with my own eyes. Interestingly, I never got a discount on my premium for the lack of service and higher waiting times. That's right. The NHS is now paying the private sector to take over the kind of backlog of people that they can't deal with because they're so bloody useless.
You couldn't make it up. So as we pour more and more billions into the NHS, this bottomless pit, this gaping maw, you just pour the billions in. Then
I mean, if the NHS was a horse, you'd shoot it, wouldn't you? Basically, you'd go, sorry, mate, it's all over.
Well, if it was a private business, you'd shut it down.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the weather forecasters. Every day I say to myself, how can weather forecasters get it so
Do you know, yesterday,
wrong?
when the heavens opened, right, I came back upstairs, we were filming Plank of the Week, came back upstairs, and Ricky, who sits outside, he's the sort of head of the content that we all do here, and he showed me the the BBC app. And the BBC app just was sun, 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 sun. And literally look out the window, and the heavens had opened. There was torrential rain. It wasn't even on the app.
It was a thunder. There was massive thunder and lightning for a good hour.
Yeah.
That must have been somewhere, and I'm no meteorologist, but that must have been somewhere in the heavens, on the map.
You'd seen it coming.
Like somewhere. Yeah. Well, also, I'd seen it coming because the sky suddenly went really grey, and really dark.
I went home after the show yesterday, and when I woke up from my little nap, there was no sun. No. And I thought, it looks like it's going to rain. Yeah. And this is very sort of heavy, you know...
But when weather forecasters have their, like, you know, performance review... don't people say to them, well, you're consistently getting it wrong? You're consistently saying it's raining and you look outside and it's sunny, or the other way around. Yeah. I don't understand how it all works.
The easiest job in the world being a meteorologist, because nobody cares if you get it wrong.
Well, no, but try and get it right. Like, you've got all the data. Nice. They've got their really, really expensive equipment. I believe they have stuff in space as well. Yeah. They have a lot of tech, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but it is the BBC, let's face it. Right, listen, 6:51, Emma Woolf and I here. If I don't spontaneously combust in the next break, I'll see you after that. Yeah. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:53. It is A-level day today, by the way, in case everybody's wondering. One of my children is waiting for his A-level results, but he's so worried about him, he's gone to America. So, I mean, he'll be getting them later on. I guess we'll find out exactly how he's done. But, Mike,
I know we say this...
But for a lot of parents, it's quite a stressful day, actually.
Yeah, and I know we say this every year, but honestly... With the perspective of age, you won't even barely... I know it matters for unis and stuff, but A, universities are really desperately looking for students, and B, it won't matter quite so much as it feels like it does right now.
No, that's true.
You know, I can barely remember what I got my A-levels, and things worked out-ish okay. Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ways to recover if it hasn't... if you haven't done as well as you thought you were going to do, right? Yeah. Don't listen to the teachers. Honestly, don't. Let's have a look at page 2 of The Sun. Donald Trump's US administration has attacked Britain for serious restrictions on free speech over the past year. And, of course, they've got a picture of Lucy Connolly, who's still in prison, by the way. I thought she was going to get out in August because they said she would.
But they're frightened of the reaction, aren't they?
They're frightened of the reaction. They're hoping it will all go away. I mean, this is typical Starmer administration nonsense, right? His entire kind of raison d'etre and modus operandi is to try and ignore something and hope that it goes away. Yeah. But it doesn't go away.
It doesn't.
Lucy Connolly is a symbol of Keir Starmer's failure to actually protect the British people from scumbags coming to this country and killing people.
Of course.
That's the problem.
Wild two-tier policing, completely disproportionate, crazy decisions, especially when we've got prisons that are, people being released onto the street.
Did you see that story the other day?
Dangerous
26,000 people have been released from prison under Keir Starmer's reign since last year.
And we wonder why crime is so rife. But it's not. No, crime's going down, remember?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's absolutely shocking. Yeah. And they can, what I meant about, them policing these hurty tweets, they can follow up Lucy Connolly. They can go and police her and arrest her and put her in prison, but they can't go and find this TikTok asylum seeker who is taking the absolute mickey in this country.
I know. But and it's continuing to break the law by just being here.
Openly flouting the law. Yeah, but coming here was an illegal act. Yeah. But this is really, really embarrassing.
But this is really embarrassing. The State Department, this is the US State Department, says that attempts to chill speech online in the wake of last summer's Southport attack, as well as the Online Safety Act that polices content on the internet, they say significant human rights issues included credible reports of serious restrictions on freedom of expression, including enforcement of or threat of criminal or civil laws in order to limit expression, and crimes, violence or threats of violence motivated by anti-Semitism. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like North Korea.
This is America saying censorship of ordinary Britons was increasingly routine, often targeted at political speech. Yeah. So we don't have free speech in this country anymore.
And to be honest, I always knew that we didn't have it because I lived in America and where they do have proper free speech. Yeah. But it's got a lot worse, even under Starmer, because Starmer is a bully. He's a horrible, ghastly individual who would like to curtail your freedom and my freedom, doesn't like us being critical of him. They get really, really sniffy at Downing Street when they find out that I've given them a hard time. They don't like it. No. I couldn't care less. Get lost. Absolutely.
But he's the worst kind of bully, Mike, because he's not just a bully, he's a coward. He's a coward. He's a dishonest coward and a bully.
Yeah.
And,
it really is.
What about this special relationship? Look, this is America just telling the truth about the UK.
Well, the special relationship, David Lammy takes J.D. Vance fishing, hasn't got a licence, ends up causing them to be fined, both of them, $2.5 grand each, right? Doesn't even catch any fish. What a complete
absolutely
plonker.
Pathetic.
Carping. I don't know if we've got time. We've got time for Chris Philp, who's been out in France watching what's going on before these scumbags get on boats. Have a look.
So what we can see here is a large group of illegal migrants being shepherded onto a public bus. French police, as you can see, are present and are heading towards embarkation points where illegal crossings of the channel will happen very shortly. These people are going to probably be in a hotel somewhere near you soon. This is a symptom of the complete inactivity by French law enforcement, and it's a symptom of the Labour government's total loss of border control. It's happening right now, right behind me.
I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. It's a lawless situation. Nobody in France cares. They just keep sending them off to us. We just keep giving them, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds, millions of pounds, 770 million pounds I think we've given them. They've done square root of a sweet FA to stop them coming.
And there's no incentive for them to do anything.
No.
I mean, as you say, push the problem away.
They don't want
they're still getting their monies.
Yeah.
What did your caller say? He's tapped him up for the best part of £1 billion. Absolutely brilliant.
And
I
they're
couldn't
actually
have put it better
shipping
myself.
them on those buses to the coast so they can get on these 107-man dinghies.
And then we have to escort them into our country, into safe waters,
welcome them to Heathrow Airport, right?
Whereas they should be going from the boat straight into prison and then back to the airport.
Yeah,
simple.
Absolutely.
Oh, I don't know, cages.
I know,
Sorry,
cages.
I shouldn't. No, I shouldn't say that. That's not
you
nice.
should. Put them in
That's not
cages.
kind of
Put them in prison. You know, that's where they belong. They're criminals, right? And if they're not criminals now, they will be soon because they're going to commit crime within about sort of 5 days of being here.
And Mike, I know I've said this before, but what would happen if you or I tried to get into the US without the relevant documents? If we haven't filled out our visa on the plane, if we didn't have a passport?
They'd send you straight back.
Do you think they would let us stay there in a lovely hotel for months on end?
It happened to friends of mine who were legally allowed to go into America, but because they didn't have the right papers, they were detained, they were put in a room until they could get on a plane back.